Hello, everyone. Welcome back. For this session, we're going to go over hierarchies. Hierarchies is a way to organize your data into different levels. So let's take an example data, such as the customer's data set, to understand how hierarchies work in detail. Um, Within the customer data set, there are some data columns, such as customer city, customer state, and zip code. So we'll work with this piece of data because this is, in essence, a hierarchy of customers' location information. For example, the zip code will roll up to the city, and city will roll up to state level of information. So let's open up a new sheet like I have here and see how customer data set will look like if we set up a hierarchy. For example, I'm going to go into the customer state and either click on the drop down here or right click the customer state. And if I scroll down to hierarchy, I can create a new hierarchy here. So let's call this hierarchy, let's give it a name, for example, customer location hierarchy. And then let's hit OK. What's going to happen is within the bottom part of my available objects, it has created a customer location hierarchy, as I mentioned. And within it, there's only customer state. Now, we can also add additional components to it. For example, I could drag customer state down and I can drop it under below customer state here and make it a part of my location hierarchy. Or conversely, if I want to just click on the object that I want to bring into, I could either open the drop down here or right click. Either way is fine. And then go to hierarchy. And then because I created one here, there's a new option called add to hierarchy, and you'll see a list of existing hierarchies that you can select. Or if you want to create a new hierarchy, obviously you can create a new one as well. But I'm going to add it to my existing one. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to my location hierarchy here. And you'll see that this has been added into my customer location hierarchy here. Now, what's good about this is that the creator of the dashboard, usually yourself or the data analyst, that person can bring your location information or other hierarchy at a certain level in, and then make good charts out of it. So let's take an example here. I'm going to drag my hierarchy instead of a column into my columns field wall here. And as a measure, I'm going to just go into a list of our measures that we created in the past. For example, our one of our calculator fields that's counting the order. So if we go here real quick and see what's inside here by clicking on edit, we'll see that this is nothing special. We're just doing a distinct count of our order IDs. And if I drag and drop this into the rows, we'll see that this has automatically created counts of our orders by states. Now, let me just bring it up by toggling this. They bring it to sideways here real quick by swapping the rows and the columns. Now, this has now become my my Y column, while the measure has gone into my X axis. What's nice about this is whether at the rows or at the chart itself, if you click on the plus button here, you'll see that this now has broken down to the city level. If I click on the plus button here on the city as well, it'll now break it down to the zip code level as well. So we can see the individual counts of this. And then obviously you can roll this back up by clicking on the minus button here, or directly within the dashboard by clicking on the minus button available on the state here. Now, as I mentioned, this is really useful because the creator can bring a whole lot of location information in. But the point that I didn't show or demonstrate yet is that when you use hierarchy and when you use certain columns that are differentiated at different levels, the end user or the audience in your case can change that granularity themselves and apply it to the dashboard. Now, what I mean is, let me demonstrate. So I'm going to create a dashboard tab here by clicking on new dashboard. And you'll see on the left side of the pane in the sheet, all of our dashboards that we have created in the past through some of our lessons. Now, the most recent one was here in my sheet 17. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag and drop this into my pane here. As you can see, this has been dropped here. Now, this is what the audience will see at the end, right? Obviously, we can enlarge it a little bit by dragging a little bit to the right and whatnot. That's all fine. Let me see if I can drag this a little bit. There we go. All right. So what's good about this is when the audience sees this, or your end user who will use a dashboard, that person can also use the plus button to break down your level of your measures by different granularities. So right now, this is a city level. Let's say if your audience wants to break it down even further to zip code level, that person can do that. Now, if you think about it, why is this good? This means that we don't need to create multiple dashboards at different state, city, or zip code level. And instead, you can make only one dashboard, which the end user can use to either select at the state level or the city level or zip code level to see the same measure. In real world working environments, this is really useful in the sense that not only does it save space when you build dashboards, but also makes your dashboard easier to manage when you have new data or metrics that you need to go in and apply to all of your different dashboards. So instead of, for example, having a individual dashboard for a state level one, a city level one, and a zip code one, and if you need to update your dashboard, you need to go update all three of them. But in this case, if you use hierarchies, you can only go and update that one, which you have applied hierarchies to, and that'll auto apply to your city, state, and zip code level. So that's one thing that's really useful about hierarchies. Now, this is how the hierarchy should be used, and I'm going to continue on in the next lesson to talk about how location information can be used in building geographical maps. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. For this session, we're going to go over geographical maps in Tableau. Geographical maps helps us understand and visualize data that is geographically related into map-like visuals, which can show us useful information such as concentration of sales or other metrics such as user numbers or order volumes and so forth. There are two types of geographical maps, mainly in Tableau. The first one is called simple maps, which draws up dotted maps based on your data. This is useful usually when you need to generally understand the different sizes of data points in certain areas or locations or regions. If your map has such a number of customers or or order volumes or sales and those kind of metrics. The other geographical map is called maps, which fills your entire location with a certain color based on your data. This is generally more aggregated, but the good thing about this map is that you can see labels more clearly in most cases, and that these visuals may be used for certain use cases very well. So let's try both of them out to see how they differ. So I'm going to go into Tableau here, and I'm going to create a new sheet and recall within our customer data set. Now, because I have used hierarchies in the past, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click my hierarchy. I'm going to remove them. By doing so, my customer location information has come back to my customer data set here. And now if we open the show me pane on the right, we'll see that in order to make a simple map, we need at least one geographical dimension or more dimensions and 0 to 2 measures. So I'm going to go ahead and example, bring in city and bring it to my column field well. Sure, that's how I add all members. That's fine. And then as a measure, I'm going to continue to use our order, distinct order count calculator field that we created in the past. I'm going to just drag and drop into my rows. Now I'm going to click on the symbol map here on in the show me pane. And what it's going to do is it's automatically going to draw up a map of our dotted data points here. If you look within the visual itself, there is a zoom in and a zoom out functionality as well. So you can do that. If you click on the right button here, you can also zoom into a certain area, or you can use the pan or rectangular set selection to do certain edits. I'm going to use a pan just to toggle around our data a little bit, and I'm going to scroll in a little bit more closer. So what does this tell me really? Well, it shows that there's a big concentration of order volumes coming from certain cities. For example, this is Brazil. Sao Paulo is a big city that's creating a lot of orders. Rio de Janeiro is another city that's creating a lot of volume of orders. Belo Horizonte is another one as well, and so forth. Now, if I hold the control button, if I click on the calc order count here in my marks field well, and if I drop it into the color here as well, this will automatically create different color schemes as well. If I want to differentiate the colors a little bit more, I'll go into color here, click here, and hit edit colors. And then I'm going to change the palette from automatic to something a bit more distinct and more distinguishing. Let's say, for example, red and green diverging, and apply. And as you can see, our colors have changed slightly, and now the bigger order volume cities are a little bit more visible, so to speak. You can also change the sizes of your data points by going to sizes and then toggling between the ranges, make it a little bit larger. I think this is okay. And let's scroll here. And right now, our tooltips is customer city and calc order count. Maybe we want to edit the tooltip by saying, instead of the calculated field name, maybe order volume. And let's hit OK. So now our tooltip says something a little bit more formal, or something that's more useful for the audience. Now, one thing I'll point out, as I mentioned beforehand, is that the symbol map, if you try to have labels by doing a control and then click on the calc order count calculator field and dragging it to labels, you'll notice that the label becomes very, very disorganized, and it's very difficult to understand which number is representing what city. So I will say, generally speaking, symbol maps does have a disadvantage in terms of showing labels compared to maps. And now I'll go ahead and demonstrate how you can build maps as well. So I'll create a new worksheet once more. And recall, if you hover over the maps, it'll require you, once again, similar to the simple maps, one geographical dimension or more, or 0 to 1 measure. So I'm going to go ahead, in this case, I'm going to use the state. So I'm going to click on customer state, and I'm going to drag this into the column field well. And once again, I'm going to use the same calculated field, calc order count. Once again, for those who have not seen this, it's simply a distinct count over order ID, nothing special. This is something we created in our earlier lessons. If I click and drag and drop this into the rows, and if I click on maps on the right pane, this is automatically going to change it into a maps. So now, once again, this represents Brazil, and this has done some coloring beforehand for me, where obviously the more concentrated order volume shows states that have generated more concentrated volume of orders are more in darker colors, while states that have generated less number of orders are more in the lighter color. Once again, you can change the colors by going into edit colors and changing the color scheme into something else, such as orange, blue, white diverging. Maybe try that. Yeah, this looks a bit more diverging, right? So something like that could be used as well, whichever one works for you. Now, one thing that's really good about this is, once again, you can change around your tooltip to show different labels. Once again, you can go here and change out some of the text information, order volume or order count. And if you hold the control button, if you drag the calc order calculator field into labels, you'll see labels at the state level showing for each state. Now, this is a bit more cleaner, more organized way of showing labels. This visual, I'll also say, has an advantage over the other one because this is showing at the state level. So maybe labeling itself is a bit more straightforward and more clear. But this is some of the ways that you can use this map visuals to generate a generic understanding of, hey, these are some of the places where our volume of orders are being generated. As you can see, there are some regions that generate much more versus some regions that does not. And that will usually help in terms of, let's say, your stakeholders, for example, marketing, and understanding where are our customers and where should we focus our marketing efforts towards, because usually you'll have a marketing budget and it's finite. and therefore maybe the marketing will end up targeting states or maybe even cities that have a bigger concentration of customers that have generated orders. For example, uh, customer state SP, I think that's probably where Sao Paulo is. It's probably a state that marketing will definitely want to focus in terms of generating more volume of orders because they have been generating the most so far among all the other states in Brazil for this business. So these are some of the ways that you could use geographical maps, and please go try building these out. I think these are very useful in the sense of understanding some of the bigger trends of your business and where the rhythm of your customers or your users are coming from, at least from a order volume standpoint. Maybe sales may be different. But please go through these, and then I'll catch you in the next video.